the most unbelievable courtroom collapse in Judge Elaine Parker's career started the moment Clara Whitmore walked through those courtroom doors, believing she was untouchable. At 42 years old, Clara lived the kind of life most people only see in magazines. Married to billionaire tech mogul Ethan Whitmore, she entered that courtroom draped in wealth from head to toe. A custom Chanel suit worth $12,000 hugged her perfectly. An enormous diamond ring sparkled under the courtroom lights like a spotlight, announcing her arrival. Hanging from her arm was an $85,000 Hermes Birkin bag that probably cost more than several people in that room earned in a year. She carried herself with the confidence of someone who genuinely believed money placed her above consequences. What Clara didn't understand was that she had just stepped into the one room where status meant absolutely nothing. And before the day ended, the same woman, laughing arrogantly at Judge Elaine Parker, would be crying uncontrollably while her entire image collapsed on national television. But this wasn't simply a story about a rich woman embarrassing herself in court. What Judge Elaine Parker uncovered that day exposed something far uglier beneath Clara's glamorous lifestyle. Beneath the designer clothes and luxury, jewelry was a pattern of exploitation, manipulation, and entitlement that had quietly destroyed the lives of people working for her. Clara spent over $100,000 on luxury shopping in a single month, while refusing to pay her own stylist a salary of just $3,500. She hosted extravagant dinner parties, costing $15,000 in one evening, but claimed she somehow couldn't afford to compensate the woman organizing her 300-piece designer wardrobe. From the moment Clara entered that courtroom, Judge Elaine Parker was already watching carefully. Every dismissive glance, every arrogant gesture, every condescending word, the judge noticed all of it. Clara Whitmore was the type of woman who had spent years believing wealth gave her immunity from basic human decency. Since marrying into billions in her 20s, she had never truly worked for anything in her life. Employees existed to serve her. Assistants existed to obey her. Service workers barely registered as people in her mind. She fired staff members over minor inconveniences. She returned luxury dresses after wearing them once. She treated workers like disposable accessories. Every month, she spent $80,000 on her American Express Black Card, without thinking twice about where the money came from. And that afternoon, she walked into Judge Elaine Parker's courtroom, believing she would humiliate another employee publicly. The case initially sounded simple. Clara accused her former personal stylist, Sofia Maciras, of stealing $50,000 worth of designer clothing from her closet. She demanded $15,000 in damages and described the missing pieces as irreplaceable luxury items essential to her lifestyle. But Sofia's counterclaim told an entirely different story. According to Sofia, Clara had refused to pay her for 8 straight months of full-time work, $22,000 in unpaid wages. What Clara never realized was that Judge Elaine Parker had already spotted dozens of inconsistencies in her paperwork before court even began. The judge knew something wasn't adding up long before Clara ever opened her mouth. That Thursday afternoon, the courtroom buzzed with its normal energy. Audience members expected another dramatic but forgettable dispute involving wealthy people arguing over money. No one realized they were about to witness one of the most viral courtroom moments in television history. Clara certainly didn't. She had spent weeks preparing for her appearance, not because she feared losing, but because she wanted to look perfect on camera. She practiced her statements in front of mirrors inside a bedroom larger than most apartments. She studied previous episodes of Judge Elaine Parker to figure out how she wanted to present herself. This wasn't about money for Clara. The amount meant nothing. This was about dominance. She wanted America to see what happened when employees challenged people above their social status. She even bragged to friends that she planned to embarrass Judge Elaine Parker on television. When Clara entered the courtroom, it looked less like someone arriving for legal proceedings and more like a celebrity arriving at a fashion event. Her hair had been professionally styled that morning. Her makeup was flawless. Every detail had been carefully prepared for cameras. Even her body language radiated superiority. She checked her phone inside the courtroom, like the rules didn't apply to her. She looked around at the audience, court staff, and even the judge herself, with visible contempt. In Clara's eyes, everyone there belonged to a lower class of existence. Then Sofia Ramirez entered. The contrast couldn't have been sharper. Sofia wore a modest business outfit, purchased specifically for court, nothing expensive, nothing flashy, just respectful and professional. Her hands trembled slightly as she carried a folder stuffed with receipts, invoices, bank records, time logs, and text messages documenting months of unpaid work. She looked nervous. But underneath that fear was determination, the determination of someone who had finally decided to stand up for herself. Judge Elaine Parker opened the case with her usual directness. "Miss Whitmore," she began calmly, "you're claiming Miss Ramirez stole designer clothing from your home. Explain exactly what happened." Instead of answering clearly, Clara immediately turned the courtroom into her personal stage. She launched into a dramatic speech about betrayal and trust, speaking with exaggerated sophistication while painting Sofia as some ungrateful worker who violated her generosity. Then came the first warning sign. Clara stopped discussing facts and began attacking Sofia personally. Judge Elaine Parker interrupted immediately. "I didn't ask for commentary," the judge said sharply. "I asked what happened to your clothing." The tension in the courtroom shifted instantly. Most people would have realized they needed to calm down. Clara did the opposite. She sighed dramatically and responded with irritation, implying the judge simply wasn't letting her explain properly. The courtroom went silent. Everyone knew she had just crossed a dangerous line. And then, things got even worse. During testimony, Clara's phone rang inside her handbag. To everyone's disbelief, she actually pulled it out and checked it while standing in court. Judge Elaine Parker snapped immediately. "Put the phone away." Clara casually replied that her husband was calling from Tokyo regarding a billion-dollar business deal. The judge's voice came ice cold. "I don't care if it's the president calling," she said. "Put the phone away immediately." Clara obeyed, but not before rolling her eyes so dramatically that the cameras captured every second of it in perfect detail. That eye roll would later become one of the most replayed clips online. Then Judge Elaine Parker turned toward Sofia Ramirez. Sofia spoke quietly, but clearly, she explained how Clara hired her as a personal stylist with a promised salary of $3,500 per month. She described spending 40 to 50 hours every week, organizing Clara's enormous wardrobe, shopping for events, coordinating outfits, and remaining constantly available whenever Clara demanded assistance. Then Sophia presented the evidence: 8 months of unpaid invoices, tailed work logs, text messages where Clara repeatedly promised payment next week, bank statements proving almost nothing had ever been paid. The evidence was overwhelming. Organized, precise. Clara panicked. She interrupted repeatedly, shouting accusations and calling Sophia a liar. Finally, Judge Elaine Parker slammed her patience shut. "Sit down and be quiet," she warned sharply. "Interrupt again, and I'll hold you in contempt." Clara sat down, muttering complaints under her breath. And then came the moment that destroyed her case completely. Judge Elaine Parker began reviewing photographs Sophia had taken while organizing Clara's closet. The photos documented every section of the massive wardrobe in extraordinary detail: every handbag, every pair of shoes, every designer dress. Then the judge looked up. "Miss Whitmore," she said carefully, "you claim Sophia stole these items from your closet." Clara nodded eagerly. Judge Parker held up the photographs for the cameras. "These pictures were taken 2 weeks after Miss Ramirez stopped working for you." The courtroom grew quiet. The courtroom grew quiet. "And every single item you claim was stolen," the judge continued, "is clearly visible in these photographs hanging inside your closet." Clara's face lost all color instantly. She stared at the photos in horror. Then she desperately claimed the images had been manipulated. Judge Elaine Parker destroyed that argument immediately. The photographs contained authenticated metadata from Clara's own home security system. The timestamps were real. The items had never disappeared. Clara continued spiraling deeper. Now, she argued, maybe Sophia stole different items. She simply couldn't remember, because she owned too many possessions. Judge Elaine Parker leaned forward slowly. "So let me understand this," she said coldly. "You're suing for stolen items you cannot identify, cannot prove existed, never reported to police, and which appear in photographs taken after the alleged theft." For the first time, Clara realized she was losing badly. She changed tactics completely. Now she argued Sophia didn't deserve payment, because working for someone wealthy, like Clara, provided valuable opportunities. She claimed Sophia benefited from exposure to luxury fashion and high-profile social events. Then she said the sentence that completely sealed her fate. "Honestly," Clara said confidently, "she should have been paying me for the access." The courtroom froze. Judge Elaine Parker stared at her in disbelief. Then the judge delivered the speech that would go viral across the internet within hours. "In this courtroom," she said firmly, "your money means nothing. Your character means everything." Every word landed like a hammer. The judge explained that wealth could never purchase dignity, respect, or immunity from accountability. She exposed Clara's arrogance completely in front of millions of viewers. And, for the first time all day, Clara Whitmore looked terrified. The woman who entered court, believing she owned the room, suddenly understood something horrifying. Money could not save her here, and Judge Elaine Parker was nowhere near finished.